That was the Israel Defense Forces spokesperson, Daniel Hagari, there, giving his response to these latest attacks. And let's dive a little bit deeper into what any potential repercussion could be from this attack. Let's talk now to Dr. Andreas Krieg, who's a senior lecturer at the School of Security Studies in King's College London and also a Middle East expert. Dr. Krieg, you've been listening to all of my guests and watching very closely what's been happening tonight over the skies of Israel. What does this mean now? Because Iran seems to have thrown down the gauntlet at Israel. Is Israel going to pick it up?
Yes. I mean, we're in a what I'm hearing now from Israel is we have to retaliate. And we're in this tit for tat that's been going on for a while now, but we're just way above, where we used to be a couple of weeks ago. We're now in an all-out war. The problem is, if it's an eye for an eye, we're basically both sides will be left blind. Obviously, something has got to give. I mean, Israel has to send a response. But we need, this is not for the Israelis to decide. I think the international community has to make sure that whatever Israel does is not upending the regional order as we know it. And the US has a responsibility. So we've been in this cause for 12 months now of constantly red lines being crossed, mostly by the Israelis. The Hezbollah and Iran have played it fairly rationally, trying to be very cautious in how they respond, trying to leave off-ramps where they could. The Netanyahu government has kind of lost the opportunity at every sort of junction to use an off-ramp that was given to them. And any off-ramp were one that starts in Gaza, really, not just in Lebanon. And I think this is very important now. Most people that we've heard speaking now saying there is no diplomatic solution. We're now in all-out war. Everything is possible. This is true. We are in all-out war, but we need to find an off-ramp. And at the worst possible time, because obviously the US administration right now is a lame duck just going into elections, and the US administration has to now come around to say this is a regional war that could upend the regional order, have an impact on everything that we care about, from migration to energy to everything. This is not far away. This is right on our doorstep. So, what we need now is make sure that if Israel responds, and I think Israel has to respond to kind of keep the balance, that this is within means. This whole talk about regime change and attacking the Iranian nuclear program, that's all, premature.
You're referring to what my previous guest,
yes,
Mr. Yossi, was talking about. You don't think that's a viable option?
No. I mean, if we're talking about military solutions, first of all, the Israelis seem to be in this strategic echo chamber where they keep on. There's been hubris over the last 2 weeks of saying we can achieve everything because we've been so decisive in our strikes in Lebanon, decisive against Hezbollah. We've killed Nasrallah, no consequences. And I think there's been this hubris of thinking they would get away with it. And now the Iranians saying you can't get away with murder. And now we're going to put you on notice. The issue now is the Israelis need to understand that, there are limitations of what also they can achieve. And just invoking the Americans, because the Americans are the insurance policy here for the Israelis to do what they want to do. And the Americans are the ones who can say stop.
We keep talking about the Americans. What about other Middle East powerful countries that perhaps could have something now to do with finding that off-ramp? What about the likes of Qatar? What about the likes of countries like that?
Right. I think what is very, very important here is, and that, Qatar, Oman, even Saudi Arabia have played a very, very important role over the last 12 months of kind of bringing everyone together behind the scenes. And the Qataris are probably the only country that have some connection to the deep state, because that's important in Iran, right? Not just the government, but also the IRGC, speaking to them, saying, look, guys, we want to make sure that this doesn't blow up. And the Qataris have gone out of their way also in mediating the conflict in Gaza, have provided off-ramps, have provided opportunities. Netanyahu has failed on every junction to take it. And that's the thing. This is not about Israel. This is a prime minister in a far-right government in Israel that seems to avoid taking opportunities for an off-ramp for his own political interest.
Surely the Iranians do not want to go to war with the Israelis. No. Surely not. So what are they doing here?
Right, but at the same time, if you look at what analysts have been saying over the last 2 weeks, is Iran looked weak. So we had the killing of Haniyeh, we had the killing now of Nasrallah, we had the killing of very senior IRGC officers in Syria and in Lebanon, and Iran hasn't responded. So something had to happen in order to kind of reset the balance, because Iran's reputation was on the line. And they now said today, we are trying to re-establish, some sort of escalatory dominance, and we're trying to re-establish our reputation as the kind of protector of the axis of resistance. Whether this has succeeded or not, we will have to see. But I think this is a major escalation, because the telegraphing that was happening today was far shorter than what we've seen in April, and hence a lot more of the projectiles have come through. It seems there are no casualties on the ground. But nonetheless, I mean, this is something Israel will now have to respond to. But diplomacy, everyone in the region, the Qataris, the Saudis, everyone has a link into the Iranians, and everyone has a link into the Americans, have to use their networks to bring everyone together. OK,
Dr. Krieg, it's been really interesting to have you on The World Today talking about this. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us. Let's cross live now and speak to our Europe correspondent Nick Beake, who is in northern Israel.